The building was silent the morning everything finally collapsed. A cold, glass office tower standing against the sky like a witness. Inside, the conference room remained unusually dark, the blinds half closed, the lights dimmed to a grey-blue haze. Only one lamp was on, the one directly above the chair where Savannah Cole sat, hands shaking, breathing quick and shallow. Across from her sat Rachel Bennett. Calm. Controlled. Almost too still, like she had been waiting for this exact moment for a very, very long time. The HR director sat at the far end of the table, confused but alert. The paperwork in front of him looked standard: employee misconduct, dates, violations, signatures waiting. But the atmosphere in the room was anything but standard. Savannah kept swallowing as she stared at the stack of printed emails, screenshots, attendance summaries, and performance logs. Her face was pale, her mascara smeared, her confidence shattered into 1,000 quiet pieces. She had walked into this company like she was entering her kingdom, a place she believed Rachel would soon lose. She used to smirk when Rachel walked by, used to adjust her blouse, toss her hair, whisper to co-workers that she was the real woman in Christopher's life. But now the room felt like a courtroom. And Rachel was the calm judge who didn't need to raise her voice to pass a sentence. Rachel leaned forward with a quiet, deadly composure. "Savannah," she said, voice gentle but firm, "you and I both know why you're here." Savannah flinched. She tried to smile, but her lips trembled. "Rachel, listen. I think this is a misunderstanding. Chris should have told you." Rachel slowly slid a folder toward her. "Your behavior," she said calmly, "is documented. Every missed report, every unprofessional message, every late arrival. You didn't realize your supervisor was watching the entire time." Savannah's eyes widened. Her voice cracked. "You were tracking me?" "No," Rachel said softly. "You tracked yourself. I just paid attention." Savannah's throat tightened as she opened the folder and saw the timestamps. Each mistake she brushed off. Each rule she thought didn't apply to her. Each careless slip she believed no one would notice because she thought she was untouchable, because she thought she had already replaced the woman sitting in front of her. The HR director cleared his throat. "Ms. Cole, these violations are serious. This could lead to termination." Savannah's eyes snapped to Rachel, panic now running through her veins. "You can't fire me," she whispered. "Rachel, please. You're only doing this because of Chris. Because of the affair." Rachel didn't blink. "You think too small, Savannah. This isn't about Christopher. This is about professional misconduct. You lied during your interview. You broke policies. You insulted staff. You harassed co-workers. You sent inappropriate messages during work hours." Savannah gasped. "Rachel, you can't do this. I need this job," Chris said. "Chris won't help you," Rachel said, her voice turning razor sharp. "In fact." She reached into her bag and pulled out a second folder. White, thick, clean. She slid it across the table. It hit Savannah like a quiet explosion. Divorce papers. Savannah froze. Her pulse thudded in her ears. Christopher Bennett stood in the doorway, arms crossed, looking like he had walked into his own funeral. Shame was written all over his expression. Rachel didn't look at her husband. She didn't need to. "You both wanted my life," she said, her calm voice echoing through the room. "Congratulations, Savannah. You're unemployed in it now." Savannah's mouth fell open. Tears spilled. Her arrogant fire was gone. "And as for you, Christopher," Rachel finally looked at him, cold, distant, finished. "You can leave my office. And you can leave my life." The HR director remained silent, stunned. Savannah tried to grab Christopher's hand. He pulled away. Rachel stood, gathering her files with calm finality. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She executed. And as she stepped out of the conference room, the building seemed to breathe again. like it had been waiting for this exact moment as long as she had. This was not a woman broken. This was a woman done. And Savannah Cole had never been further from winning. Rachel Bennett had always been the kind of woman people underestimated, not because she was weak, but because she never showed her cards too early. She lived quietly. She worked smart. She kept her emotions steady, balanced, hidden behind a calm smile that never cracked even when life tried to crush her. And for months, life had been trying. It started with little things. Christopher coming home late, smelling like expensive perfume he didn't own. The sudden gym memberships. The secretive phone habits. The excuses so thin they disappeared the moment he said them. Rachel knew. Of course she knew. She noticed everything. But she didn't shout. She didn't accuse. She didn't ask the classic question every betrayed wife asks. Why? Instead, she watched him. Watched his changes. And watched the person behind him. Her name was Savannah Cole. 26. Pretty. Loud. Always posting motivational captions like she was the star of her own movie. Palm-sized tattoos on her wrist. Fake confidence layered over insecurity like cheap perfume. And every week, Savannah uploaded something aimed at Rachel. A quote about deserving better. A mirror selfie with the caption, "Someone's husband chose the right woman." A video of her drinking wine, smirking. "Some wives should thank me. I'm upgrading their husbands." Rachel never liked social media, but she saw everything. Not because she followed Savannah, but because Savannah wanted to be seen. She wanted to be the winner. She wanted Rachel to break, to explode, to cry, to give her the reaction she desperately needed to feel powerful. Rachel didn't give her a single breath of reaction. Not one comment. Not one message. Not one angry post. And that silence confused Savannah more than anything. People like Savannah needed drama to survive. They needed attention, tension, and chaos. They needed to feel like the main character in somebody else's life. But Rachel refused to play her role. She woke up every morning, tied her hair back, drank a coffee, and went to work, at the company she had helped build with her own hands. A company with 200 employees. A company where she was respected. A company where she held real power. She wasn't just Christopher's wife. She was Rachel Bennett, COO. And she was planning something quietly, patiently, beautifully. Christopher thought she was ignoring the affair. Savannah thought she was scared of losing. Both of them thought she was weak. They didn't know Rachel had already moved past the pain. She had entered strategy. The moment of clarity came one Thursday night when Christopher fell asleep on the couch while texting Savannah. His phone lit up every 30 seconds. Rachel walked past him silently, picked up the charger, and plugged his phone into the wall, avoiding the screen, avoiding the messages, avoiding the temptation to scream. She whispered only 2 words under her breath. "Thank you." Not because she was grateful he cheated, but because now she had everything she needed. She had her answer. She had the final confirmation. And she had a goal. She would not simply take revenge. She would execute it. She didn't want to destroy Savannah emotionally. Emotions grow back. She didn't want to destroy her physically. That would make her a villain. She wanted to destroy Savannah's confidence. She wanted to destroy her illusion of winning. She wanted to destroy her dream of replacing her. And she knew exactly where to do it. At work. Savannah had been struggling financially. She moved apartments twice in 6 months. She needed stability. She needed a job with good pay and benefits. She needed the kind of job she bragged about but never had the qualifications for. Rachel knew this because Savannah posted every problem she had online like public therapy. So Rachel made a silent, strategic move. She posted a job opening at her company, entry level, but with growth opportunities. Good salary. Good hours. Exactly the kind of job someone like Savannah would jump at. And she did. Savannah applied within 6 minutes of the posting being uploaded. Rachel read the application, smiled to herself, and sent it directly to HR with one line. Proceed. 3 days later, Savannah walked into the building for her interview, wearing a too tight dress, too high heels, and a smile she believed was dangerous. She didn't know she had already stepped into Rachel's territory. She didn't know she was walking into the one place Rachel was strongest. She didn't know she had just volunteered to hand Rachel all the ammunition she needed. The receptionist politely directed her to the 11th floor. Savannah strutted down the hallway like she owned it, until she saw the nameplate on the glass office where her new supervisor would be sitting. Rachel Bennett, Chief Operating Officer. Savannah stopped breathing. Her confidence wobbled. Her smile cracked. Because in that moment, she finally understood. Rachel hadn't lost anything. Rachel hadn't been replaced. Rachel hadn't been defeated. No. Rachel had been waiting. And Savannah had just walked straight into the trap. Savannah stood frozen outside Rachel Bennett's glass office, staring at the nameplate like it was a warning sign she never saw coming. For a moment, she actually considered turning around, pretending she took the wrong elevator, pretending she was here for something else, anything else. But footsteps echoed behind her. The HR coordinator smiled. Ms. Cole, Rachel is ready for you. Savannah's stomach twisted. Ready for you. She forced a smile, lifted her chin, and walked inside. The office was modern, minimalist, clean. A wall of glass behind Rachel revealed the skyline, bright, stable, unmoved by human drama. Rachel sat at her desk with her back straight, her hands folded calmly. She looked professional, composed, powerful. Yet her expression was warm, almost gentle. Good morning, Savannah, Rachel said softly. Please, have a seat. Savannah did, her legs stiff, her palms sweating. Rachel didn't stare her down. She didn't smirk. She didn't act like a betrayed wife. She acted like a boss. That bothered Savannah more than anything. The two women looked at each other, one unbothered, one unraveling inside. Rachel glanced at her resume. So, she said lightly, you're looking for stability? A place to grow your skills. Savannah nodded quickly. Yes. Yes, I think I could be a valuable asset here. Rachel smiled politely. I'm sure you can. That smile was terrifying. It wasn't sweet. It wasn't fake. It was controlled, measured, dangerous in its calmness. Savannah tried to fill the silence. I've always admired this company. I've followed your work for years. Rachel raised an eyebrow, just barely. Oh, I didn't know you followed me. Savannah's chest tightened. She chose each word carefully. Not like that. I follow a lot of businesswomen. Rachel kept smiling. Of course. There was something about the way she said of course that made Savannah feel like she was being x-rayed. Not judged. Not scolded. Just understood too well. Rachel continued the interview like nothing personal existed between them. She asked about deadlines, teamwork, communication skills. She asked about strengths, weaknesses, goals. Savannah answered each question with shaky confidence. But Rachel wasn't focused on her answers. Rachel was watching her behavior, watching her inconsistencies, watching her lies. Because Rachel already knew everything she needed to know. After 20 minutes, Rachel closed her notebook. Well, Savannah, she said pleasantly, I believe you're a good fit for the role. Savannah blinked. Really? Rachel nodded. Absolutely. When can you start? Savannah almost cried with relief. Any time. Even tomorrow. Rachel extended her hand. Welcome to the team. And that was it. Savannah walked out of the office almost floating. She had beaten the odds. She had gotten the job. But she had no idea she had also lost the battle. Savannah started work the next week. And immediately, Rachel began watching her. No yelling. No drama. No emotional revenge. Just silent observation. At first, Savannah was enthusiastic. She arrived early. She dressed professionally. She smiled like she had everything under control. But by day 3, she was late. She barely understood the software. She forgot to attach documents to emails. She took long breaks. She sent personal texts during work. She posted Instagram stories in the office bathroom. Rachel documented everything quietly. Not because she needed leverage, but because Savannah was giving it to her freely. Every mistake. Every lie. Every careless moment. Every unprofessional behavior. Rachel didn't need to sabotage her. Savannah sabotaged herself. One afternoon during the second week, Rachel walked past the break room and heard Savannah giggling loudly. "And she thinks I'm learning fast," Savannah bragged to a coworker. "Rachel is so calm. Honestly, she's not that intimidating." No wonder Chris got bored. The coworker tensed, unsure how to respond. Rachel didn't walk in. She didn't confront. She didn't react. She simply opened her phone and typed. Incident number 12. Disrespectful remarks about management during work hours. Witness present. And she walked away. Later that month, Savannah began complaining that the job was too hard. She missed 3 deadlines. She stopped replying to emails on time. She blamed coworkers. She blamed systems. She blamed stress. Rachel documented everything. She didn't micromanage. She didn't warn. She didn't correct. She simply watched Savannah dig her own grave. The real turning point came on a Wednesday morning when Savannah marched into the office late, again, and loudly told 2 interns, "Honestly, Rachel should thank me. I'm helping her husband feel something again." The interns froze. Rachel stepped out of her office right then. Calm. Controlled. Not angry. Just ready. "Savannah," she said gently, "please come with me." Savannah's stomach dropped. Rachel led her into a private conference room. The blinds closed automatically. The lights dimmed slightly. Rachel sat across from her and folded her hands. "It's time for your performance evaluation," she said softly. Savannah's blood ran cold. She finally realized. This was never a job. This was the setup. This was the quiet, cold, patient revenge. And it had only just begun. Savannah sat in the conference room, trying to steady her breathing. The door clicked shut behind her, and it felt like the sound echoed through her bones. She looked around. No windows. No co-workers. Just her, and Rachel Bennett. The woman she had mocked. The woman she had taunted. The woman whose marriage she tried to steal. The woman who now held her entire career in one calm hand. Rachel placed a folder on the table. Thin, neat, organized. No wrinkles, no rush, no emotion. "Savannah," she began gently, "this evaluation is meant to help us understand your performance and your role here." Her voice was soft, but the softness was sharper than anger. Savannah forced a small smile. "Of course. I think I've been doing great overall. Maybe a few small mistakes, but..." Rachel opened the folder. The first page was a list. Tardiness, 7 times in 3 weeks. Missed deadlines, 4. Unprofessional conduct, multiple incidents. Inappropriate conversations, recorded by witnesses. Policy violations, documented. Savannah felt her mouth go dry. This wasn't a discussion. This was evidence. "Rachel," she whispered, her voice trembling. Rachel didn't respond. She lifted the next page. Screenshots of emails Savannah forgot to send. Notes from co-workers she insulted. Logs of her social media posts made during work hours. Camera timestamps from the break room. Savannah's heartbeat pounded painfully in her ears. This isn't fair. Everyone makes mistakes. Rachel nodded softly. Yes, everyone does. But you made them repeatedly. And proudly. She gently turned another page. And loudly. Savannah recognized the photo at once. It was her Instagram story. Selfie in the office bathroom, captioned, "Working hard? No, just looking good." Her chest tightened. "And this," Rachel continued, sliding out another sheet, "is a complaint from 2 interns who heard you describe Chris in detail." Savannah felt her entire body flush with humiliation. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't think. "Rachel, please," she whispered, tears stinging her eyes. Rachel looked at her finally, really looked at her. Not with pity, not with anger, but with cold understanding. "You wanted to be seen," Rachel said softly. "Every post you made, every insult you whispered, everything you bragged about, you made sure people saw it." Savannah swallowed, shaking. I didn't mean." "You did," Rachel said simply. "And I'm not here to punish you for the affair. I'm not here to yell or argue. I'm here as your supervisor." The word supervisor hit Savannah like a slap. "You hired me because of Chris," Savannah whispered. "Didn't you?" Rachel leaned back slightly. "No, Savannah. I hired you because you applied. And because you wanted a place in my world." She paused. "I simply let you have it." Savannah shook her head, confused and scared. "Rachel, Chris and I, this isn't just some fling. He loves." Rachel raised one hand gently, and Savannah went silent. "This," Rachel said, tapping the evaluation folder, "is about your job, not about him. You entered my company. You broke professional rules. You disrespected the environment. You insulted my staff. You embarrassed the department." Savannah's voice cracked. "I didn't think it mattered." "That," Rachel said quietly, "is the problem." She opened the last page. It wasn't a log. It wasn't an email. It was a termination form. Savannah stared at it as if it were a death sentence. "No," she whispered. "Rachel, please. I need this job. I need the money. I swear I'll do better." Rachel's voice didn't rise. Not once. "Savannah, you were given the same chance as every new employee. You were given guidance. You were given time. You chose not to respect it." Savannah began to cry. Real tears this time. Not dramatic ones. Desperate ones. "I can't lose this job," she sobbed. "Chris said, he said he'd support me until I got stable. He promised." Rachel closed the folder slowly. "Christopher," she said gently, "promised you things he never had the power to give." Savannah looked up, broken, confused, trembling. Rachel's next words were delivered with surgical precision. "Chris is not in control here. I am." Silence filled the room. Heavy. Final. Savannah wiped her tears with shaking hands. "Rachel, please. You win, okay? You win. Just, don't fire me." Rachel tilted her head slightly, almost empathetic. Almost. "Savannah," she said softly, "you fired yourself. I just wrote down the reasons." Then she stood. Not angrily. Not dramatically. Just decisively. "HR will bring the final paperwork," she said. "You may collect your belongings afterward." Savannah felt the world collapse around her. The walls felt too close. Her breathing too fast. Her confidence gone. Rachel walked toward the door, but before she left, she paused. "Savannah," she said quietly, "this could have been different. You didn't fail because of Chris. You failed because you thought rules didn't apply to you." Then she walked out, leaving Savannah alone with her shaking hands and shattered pride. But Rachel wasn't done. Not even close. Because next, she had to deal with Christopher Bennett. And that meeting would be far less gentle. Christopher Bennet had always believed two things. That he was smarter than Rachel, and that Rachel loved him too much to ever leave. He never said these things aloud, of course, but he lived like they were true. He walked into their home every night with the confidence of a man who assumed forgiveness was automatic. He treated Rachel's silence like approval, her calm like weakness, her kindness like fear. For months, Rachel watched him move through life with the arrogance of someone who thought consequences were for other people. Not him. Never him. He cheated without guilt. He lied without effort. He invested time, money, and energy into Savannah, as if cheating was a hobby, not a betrayal. And all this time, Rachel said nothing. Not a word. Not a tear. Not a fight. Christopher thought the silence meant he was safe. He didn't know silence was Rachel's strongest weapon. That same evening, just hours after Savannah's evaluation meeting, Christopher walked into the house calling her name. Rach. Honey. Where are you? His tone was cheerful. Fake cheerful. The kind of cheerful a man uses when he knows he should be guilty but hopes acting normal will erase everything. Rachel sat at the dining table. A stack of documents in front of her. A glass of water beside them. Her posture perfectly straight. Hey, Christopher said, leaning in to kiss her cheek. She didn't move. She didn't look at him. She didn't acknowledge the gesture. He froze. Is everything okay? Rachel closed one folder. Slowly, precisely. Chris, she said, sit down. Something in her tone made him obey immediately. He sat. He swallowed hard. He felt the first real ripple of fear. Rachel folded her hands. Calm. Collected. Controlled. We need to talk, she began. Christopher forced a chuckle. This sounds serious. It is, she replied. Her eyes met his, and he felt something he had never felt before. Distance. Cold distance. Final distance. He opened his mouth to speak, but Rachel raised one hand. I'm going to talk. You're going to listen. The authority in her voice made him fall silent. Rachel took a breath. I know about the affair. His heart stopped. Every muscle froze. He felt exposed, stripped, caught. Rachel, he began. No, she said firmly. Not yet. Christopher sank back into the chair. Rachel continued, her voice even. I've known for months. I know where you went. I know who you met. I know the messages. I know the money spent. I know the places. I know the lies. Christopher felt dizzy. Rachel, please. You have to understand. I understand perfectly, she said. You chose someone else. And you thought I wouldn't see it. He looked down at the table. Shame flooded him, but so did panic. He tried to grab her hand. She pulled away. No, she said quietly. You don't touch me anymore. Those words cut deeper than any yell. Christopher's voice cracked. Rachel, she meant nothing. Rachel smiled slightly, but it wasn't a sad smile. It was a knowing smile. A dangerous smile. Good, she said softly. Because nothing is exactly what she ends with. Christopher's face tightened in confusion. Rachel slid a sealed envelope across the table. He opened it with shaking hands. Termination forms. Savannah's name. Rachel's signature. HR's signature. Christopher stared, confused, horrified. You fired her, he whispered. I supervised her, Rachel corrected. And she fired herself with her behavior. He blinked at her. You hired her? On purpose. Rachel's silence was answer enough. Christopher's head spun. How could you, Rachel, this is cruel. Rachel leaned forward. Cruel. Her tone was calm, but her eyes were sharp. Cruel is watching another woman mock your marriage publicly. Cruel is watching you lie every day as if I'm stupid. Cruel is listening to Savannah brag at my office about you. Cruel is staying silent while you both tried to humiliate me. Christopher swallowed hard. Rachel's voice lowered. I didn't shout. I didn't beg. I didn't break, she said. I built the trap. She walked into it. And now she's out of a job. Christopher's voice cracked. Rachel, what does this mean for us? Rachel stood. This, she said, sliding a second envelope toward him, is your part. He opened it with trembling fingers. Divorce papers. Half the assets. Full separation. No negotiation. Christopher felt the room tilt. Rachel, you can't do this. We can fix this, please. Rachel looked at him with absolute clarity. No, Chris. You broke us. I'm just finishing it. He reached for her again. She stepped back. You used my loyalty as a shield, Rachel said. You used my silence as permission. You used my love as a weakness. Her final words landed like a hammer. You wanted another woman. Now you can have her. But you don't get me. Christopher felt his world collapse. Rachel picked up her folders, her water glass, and walked away, quietly, cleanly, fully in control. Christopher reached out in panic. Rachel, please. Don't do this. She turned only once. Chris, she said calmly, you chose her. Her eyes hardened. And today, I choose me. Then she walked upstairs, leaving him with the truth he never expected. He hadn't lost Rachel because of Savannah. He lost Rachel because he believed she would never leave. And that belief was his biggest mistake. Savannah Cole didn't sleep that night. Her apartment felt smaller than usual. Walls too close, silence too loud, air too heavy. She kept pacing from the kitchen to the living room, replaying the evaluation scene in her mind again and again until her breathing turned shaky. Rachel's voice echoed in her head like a haunting. You wanted to be seen. You fired yourself. Christopher is not in control here. I am. Every sentence hit her harder than the last. Because for the first time in months, Savannah saw herself clearly. She wasn't the main character. She wasn't winning. She wasn't replacing anyone. She was a distraction. A toy. A temporary escape for a man who couldn't commit to anything except lying. At 2:14 a.m., she broke down. Mascara streaks. Shaking hands. Chest tight with ugly sobs. She opened her phone and typed out a message to Christopher. Savannah. Chris, she fired me. Please call me. No answer. Savannah. Please. I need you. I need to talk. Still nothing. Savannah. Christopher, this is serious. I don't know what to do. Silence. She called him. Once. Twice. 5 times. Straight to voicemail. Savannah threw her phone onto the couch and screamed into her hands. This wasn't the plan. Christopher was supposed to save her. He promised he would. He told her he loved her. He told her he was ending the marriage soon. He told her Rachel was cold and boring and not worth it. But now Savannah realized something horrifying. Christopher said whatever he needed to say, to whoever he needed to say it to, at whatever moment helped him escape responsibility. She was never the exception. She was the next victim. The next morning, Savannah forced herself to go back to the office to collect her belongings. She timed her arrival early so she wouldn't have to face people. But the moment she walked in, she felt the stares. Some sympathetic. Some uncomfortable. Some quietly relieved. Because everyone knew something happened yesterday. And Savannah felt the weight of every judgmental eye. She went straight to her desk and began packing her things into a small cardboard box. Her favorite pen, her lip gloss, her cheap notebook filled with random doodles, and the mug she bought on her first day. Boss babe. Savannah stared at the mug for a long, painful moment. She used to hold it like a trophy. Now it felt like a joke. She placed it in the box gently. As she reached for her charger, a familiar voice spoke behind her. "Do you need help packing?" Savannah froze. It was Rachel. The last person she wanted to see. The last person she expected to be kind. Savannah turned around slowly. "No," she whispered. "I'm fine." Rachel nodded. "All right." She didn't smirk. She didn't glare. She didn't enjoy the moment. She simply stood there, calm, steady, and strangely compassionate. Savannah's voice cracked. "Why did you really hire me?" Rachel met her eyes. "Because you applied." Savannah didn't speak. Rachel took a small breath. "I didn't bring you here to punish you, Savannah. You punished yourself." Savannah wiped her eyes roughly. "You hate me." "I don't hate you," Rachel said softly. "I don't waste emotions on people who wanted to hurt me. I save my energy for people who matter." Those words cut deeper than an insult. "But," Rachel added, "I am responsible for this company. And you were hurting it. That's why you're being let go. Not because of Chris. Not because of me. Because of your choices." Savannah swallowed hard. "You act like you're better than me." Rachel shook her head gently. "No. I act like someone who knows the consequences of their actions." That silence between them felt heavy, but not cruel. Just real. Finally, Savannah whispered, "Do you think Chris will come to me?" Rachel's answer was calm. Final. "No. He won't." Savannah felt the sting of truth in her chest. Rachel continued, "He didn't choose you. He chose escaping responsibility. And now that I've left, he has nothing to escape from. He'll disappear from your life the same way he disappeared from mine." Savannah looked down. Tears fell silently. Rachel stepped back. "Take care of yourself, Savannah. Learn from this. Don't let another man make you believe you're winning while he uses you." Then she walked away. Not out of cruelty. Out of closure. That should have been the end of Savannah's involvement. But humiliation does strange things to a person. Anger replaces shame. Desperation replaces accountability. And people who feel like they've lost everything often make the most dangerous decisions. Later that afternoon, as Savannah held her termination papers in her shaky hands, she made one final choice. A choice driven not by love. Not by justice. Not by regret. But by revenge. Savannah wasn't done. Not yet. And the person she was planning to hurt was Rachel. What she didn't know was this. Rachel was already 10 steps ahead. Savannah left the building with her cardboard box pressed to her chest and her pride crushed into dust. But the deeper she walked into the parking lot, the less broken she felt, and the more angry she became. By the time she reached her car, the sadness had burned away. All that remained was rage. Hot. Bitter. Blinding. How dare she? Savannah whispered to herself, gripping her steering wheel until her knuckles whitened. Who does she think she is? She took everything from me. She humiliated me. Her thoughts spiraled, feeding the fire inside her. She stole my job. She stole Chris back. She ruined my life. And she thinks she gets to walk away looking like some classy queen? No. No. I won't let her have the last word. I won't let her win. She opened her phone with shaking hands. Christopher still hadn't responded. 12 missed calls. 14 messages. No reply. Savannah's lips trembled in a furious smile. Fine. If Christopher wouldn't come to her, she would go to him. She started the car and drove straight toward the Bennett home. Rachel was in her living room, calmly reviewing documents for the next day. Divorce paperwork, asset breakdowns, her new schedule. The next chapter of her life was unfolding with beautiful precision. She felt lighter than she had in months. No more lies. No more pretending. No more waiting for heartbreak. Her silence had ended. Her patience had paid off. And her revenge had landed exactly where it needed to. So when the doorbell rang, she didn't expect chaos to follow. Rachel opened the door slowly. And there stood Savannah Cole, eyes swollen, makeup smeared, breathing fast, hair in messy waves like she'd driven through a storm. "Rachel," she hissed. Not a greeting. A threat. Rachel didn't flinch. "You shouldn't be here." Savannah shoved past her into the hallway. "Don't tell me where I should be." Rachel closed the door calmly. "You have 5 seconds to leave before I call security." Savannah laughed. A wild, broken sound. "Security? Please. You think everyone worships you? You think you get to be the perfect wife, the perfect boss, the perfect victim?" Rachel remained silent, letting Savannah reveal everything she was. "You think you won?" Savannah spat. "You think firing me means you beat me?" Rachel tilted her head. "It wasn't a competition, Savannah. Only you treated it like one." Savannah stepped closer, rage twisting her features. "I took your husband. I made him mine. He kissed me. He stayed with me. Rachel raised her hand gently. "I know," she said, voice steady. "And I also know you came here because he's not answering you anymore." Savannah froze. How did you?" Rachel stepped forward now, controlled and confident. "Because Christopher only wants women who don't need him," she said softly. "The moment you become his responsibility, he disappears." Savannah's throat tightened. Rachel continued, her voice calm but devastating. "He's not choosing you. He didn't choose me either. He chooses escape. You just happen to be convenient." Savannah shook her head violently. "You're lying. He loves me. He told me he loves me." Rachel crossed her arms. "Did he say that before or after I confronted him last night?" Savannah blinked. Her breath hitched. No. He didn't tell me you talked," she whispered. "Of course he didn't," Rachel replied. "He was too busy begging me not to leave." The words shattered something inside Savannah completely. Her knees buckled for a moment before she caught herself. "You're lying. Please tell me you're lying." Rachel didn't respond. Silence became the answer. Savannah felt heat rush up her throat, a mix of humiliation, heartbreak, and pure fury. Her voice cracked. "He said he hated your coldness." Rachel smiled faintly. "Funny. Last night he said he envied it." Savannah stumbled backward like she'd been slapped. Her breathing turned uneven. He used me." Rachel nodded softly. "Yes. And you let him." Savannah's face twisted. "You did this. You ruined everything. You took him away." Rachel stepped closer, her voice razor sharp now. "No, Savannah. He walked away from you. I just stopped standing in the doorway." Savannah stared at her with shaking fury. "I should destroy you," she whispered. Rachel's expression didn't change. "You already tried. And you failed." Savannah's chest heaved. Her anger rose to its peak. "You think you're untouchable," she screamed. "I'll go online. I'll tell people everything. I'll post screenshots. I'll post messages. I'll expose him. And you'll go down with him." Rachel sighed softly. "I was hoping you wouldn't do that," she said. Savannah blinked. "What?" Rachel walked to the side table and picked up a small white envelope. She handed it to Savannah. Savannah opened it, and her face drained of color. Inside were screenshots, messages, recordings, proof of Savannah mocking co-workers, proof of her violating company rules, proof of her harassment, proof of her bragging about taking the boss's husband. All neatly organized, time-stamped, legally admissible. Rachel's voice was quiet, deadly quiet. "If you post anything," she said, "I will file a defamation suit." And I will win. I documented everything. You will lose everything you have left. Savannah stepped backward, trembling, defeated. Rachel opened the door. Leave, Savannah. Savannah took 2 shaky steps toward the exit. Rachel's voice followed her like a cold whisper. And understand this, you didn't lose because of me. You lost because you played a game thinking you were the only one who knew the rules. Savannah stumbled out the door. And for the first time, she finally understood. Rachel Bennett hadn't just taken her job. Rachel had taken her illusion, her pride, her confidence, her fantasy of winning. Savannah was done. And she knew it. Christopher Bennett woke to the sound of his own guilt. He hadn't slept. Couldn't sleep. The house felt too large, too silent, too empty without Rachel's footsteps moving softly across the halls. He lay in the guest room now, because Rachel had locked her bedroom door the night before. He had knocked. He had begged. He had apologized, cried, pleaded. But her silence had been stronger than every apology he had ever attempted. When he woke up, his phone was buzzing. 3 messages from Savannah. Chris, please call me. Chris, I need you. Chris, please, I don't know what to do. He stared at them like they were poison. Christopher didn't know what to say to her anymore. He didn't want to say anything. Because the truth was finally hitting him like a brick. He had lost everything. And it wasn't Rachel's fault. It wasn't Savannah's fault. It was his. He walked downstairs, hoping Rachel would be in the kitchen. Maybe quietly brewing coffee, maybe willing to talk for even a minute. But she wasn't in the kitchen. She wasn't on the sofa. She wasn't anywhere near him. Instead, she was standing by the front door with a leather folder in her hand. Her hair tied back. Her coat neatly buttoned. Her posture straight and powerful. She looked like a CEO. She looked like a woman who had already moved past him. She looked like someone he no longer had access to. Rachel, he said softly. She didn't answer. Can we talk? He asked, voice cracking. Rachel finally turned, her expression steady and unreadable. What do you want to talk about, Chris? He stepped closer. Us. Our marriage. We can fix this. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but I can change. Rachel studied him for a long moment, her gaze cold but calm. No, Chris, she said. You won't change. He swallowed. You don't know that. I do, she replied. Because you only want to change now that you're facing consequences. Her voice was razor sharp yet quiet. If Savannah hadn't been fired, if she hadn't come to our house, if you hadn't seen me ready to walk away, you would still be cheating. Christopher looked at the floor. Because she was right. Rachel continued, her tone precise. You didn't apologize because you're sorry. You apologized because you lost control. That sentence hit him like a blow to the chest. He took a shaky breath. Rachel, please. I love you. She didn't react. You loved attention, she said. You loved validation. You loved being chased. But you never loved me enough to stay loyal. Christopher's voice cracked. I made a mistake. You made dozens, she corrected. And every time, you looked me in the eyes. And lied. He ran a hand through his hair, tears burning his eyes. Rachel, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? I'm begging you. Rachel inhaled deeply. I don't want anything from you, she said. Not your promises. Not your apologies. Not your regret. She picked up the folder. This contains our finalized divorce structure, she said. My lawyer and yours will handle the rest. Christopher felt his stomach drop. Rachel, no, please. You can't end 20 years like this. Rachel's eyes hardened. You ended it. I'm just signing it. Christopher stepped closer, desperate. We built a life together. We built a lie together, she replied. And the only one who didn't know it was me. His knees felt weak. Rachel, how can you just walk away? Rachel didn't blink. Because I stayed long enough. Just then, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. Calmly. HR has completed Savannah's paperwork. Christopher felt ice spread through his chest. Rachel, did you fire her to punish me? Rachel shook her head. I didn't fire her because of you. She broke company rules. She disrespected the staff. She acted like she owned the place. I did my job. Christopher stared at her, guilt twisting deeper. I never thought you'd do something like that. Yes, Rachel said softly. That's the problem. You never thought about what I could do. You only thought about what you could get away with. He felt his breath stutter. Rachel walked to the door and pulled her coat sleeve straight. I'm going to work, she said. When will you come back? He whispered. She paused. Chris, she said gently, this house doesn't feel like home to me anymore. He blinked, tears falling. So you're leaving? I'm choosing peace, she answered. He reached out, reflexively. Don't, she said sharply, stepping back. His hand hung in the air, empty. Rachel opened the door. Where does this leave us? Christopher whispered. Rachel met his eyes one last time. This leaves you, she said quietly, with the truth you avoided for years. A beat. And it leaves me, finally free. Then she was gone, quietly closing the door behind her. Christopher stood alone in the silent house, surrounded by everything he once took for granted. And for the first time, he realized something. Rachel never needed revenge to destroy him. She only needed to stop loving him. And that was the deepest cut of all. The sky over the city was a shade of gray that hinted at rain, the type of weather that made everything feel heavier. Rachel Bennett didn't mind. She walked into her office building with purpose, her heels striking the marble floor with calm confidence. Today was the day everything became official. Her marriage, her closure, her freedom. She had already signed the divorce papers earlier that morning in her lawyer's office. No tears. No hesitation. Just a steady hand and a quiet, focused heart. Rachel wasn't ending her life. She was reclaiming it. Christopher Bennett, meanwhile, was unraveling. He showed up at her company unannounced just before lunch. Eyes red, shirt wrinkled, desperation pouring out of him like sweat. He pushed through the glass doors, ignoring the receptionist calling after him. He stepped into the elevator, fidgeting, muttering to himself. He needed to talk to her. He needed to fix this. He needed one last chance. But he didn't realize that Rachel no longer lived in the world where he had power. When the elevator opened on the 11th floor, he almost ran out. The staff looked up, shocked, uneasy. And then he saw her. Rachel stood in front of the conference room, speaking gently with her HR director. She looked peaceful, steady, beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with appearance, beautiful in the strength she carried now. Rachel, Christopher called out, voice cracked. Rachel slowly turned. She didn't look angry. She didn't look sad. She looked finished. Chris, she said calmly, you shouldn't be here. He walked toward her quickly. We need to talk. No, she replied. We don't. Christopher ran a frustrated hand through his hair. Rachel, please, I can't lose you. I can't live without you. Rachel studied him for a moment. You've been living without me for months, she said quietly. You just didn't notice. He flinched. Rachel, I'm begging you. I made a mistake. I was stupid. I was selfish. But I'll fix everything. I'll go to therapy. I'll block Savannah. Rachel raised a hand. Chris, she said, stop making promises you know you can't keep. He froze. Rachel stepped aside and gestured toward the conference table behind her. Papers were neatly arranged. These are the updated divorce documents, she said. My lawyer finalized everything this morning. All that's left is your signature. Christopher stumbled backward as if hit. You can't do this here. Rachel tilted her head. You cheated everywhere. Why shouldn't I finalize the divorce wherever I want? Her voice was calm. Too calm. And that terrified him more than anger ever could. Christopher's voice cracked. Rachel. I love you. Rachel stared at him. Long, steady, almost pitying. No, she said softly. You love what I did for you. You love how I made your life easy. You love that I never reacted. Her gaze sharpened. But you never loved me enough to stay loyal. Christopher swallowed hard. Rachel, please, he whispered. She took a step closer, but her expression stayed cold and unshakable. Chris, she said, I didn't fire Savannah because of you. I fired her because she was unprofessional. That was business. She paused. But this. Her eyes locked onto his. This is personal. He felt the air leave his lungs. Rachel slid the divorce papers toward him. Sign, she said, and walk away. He shook his head desperately. Rachel, I can change. No, she said firmly. You can't. And I don't want to spend another year waiting to see if you will. She leaned in slightly. I'm not choosing revenge over my future. I'm choosing peace over chaos. Myself over lies. Christopher felt something break inside him. His knees wobbled. His hands shook. Rachel straightened her posture. Chris, she said gently but coldly, this is the last thing I will ever say to you. He lifted his eyes, terrified. Rachel's voice was calm. Deadly calm. You wanted another life. Now you can live it. Without me. Then she finished with the line she had saved for this exact moment. You wanted my life? Congratulations. You're unemployed in it now. The words cut him deeper than any scream ever could. Christopher collapsed into the chair, defeated, realizing that the greatest punishment wasn't Rachel's revenge. It was Rachel's absence. She turned away from him, gathered her folders, and walked out of the conference room, and out of his future, forever. Outside, the first raindrop hit the window. Rachel stepped into the hallway with her head high, shoulders steady. She didn't look back. Not once. The chapter was closed. The trap was complete. The revenge was silent, legal, devastating, and more powerful than anything Savannah or Christopher ever expected. Rachel Bennett, calm, smart, underestimated, had won. And she won by walking away. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy the story, please hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell icon. Comment below for more stories like this. Your support means the world to us.